The Tour Junkies podcast for the 2021 Open Championship from Royal St.Georges over there in England, mate. We are the Tour Junkies. This is the DraftKings Picks and Preview show. I'm your host, DB, with my co-host and partner in crime, as always, Mr. Patrick H. Perry. Pat, how you doing tonight, buddy? You ready to get this going? It's the last major of the year, with last major of this stretch of majors we've enjoyed over the last 6-8 months. You feeling good?
I am feeling good, ready to go. I think it's going to be a good week. It's hard to believe we're down to the last major of the year, especially after, like you said, that huge stretch of majors we've had. And we get to the home of golf, the Open Championship and whatever else. So excited, ready to go.
As always, presented to you by the best place to study, to do research, to do stats, to do data. If you want to do some data, or maybe you don't, fantasynational.com/TJ is the one-stop shop that you need to get it done. We've been using Fantasy National now for 4 or 5 years. It's the best site out there, I promise you. The best value, the most comprehensive. So if you're betting on golf in any capacity, whether it's DraftKings or FanDuel or one-and-done leagues or season-long leagues with your buddies, or you're just betting outrights or head-to-heads or top 20s or whatever, fantasynational.com has everything you need to get it done, and it's the only site we use. Everything you hear us reference on tonight's podcast, or any podcast for that matter that we use, is all coming from Fantasy National. So we know the people that built it. We trust them. All their data is straight from the PGA Tour. They get all the strokes gained data from the Tour, so it's licensed, and you know it's good. It's pure, baby. It's freaking pure. Pure data at Fantasy National. And if you go to fantasynational.com/TJ, you get 20% off any membership that you choose. You can do weekly, monthly, annual memberships. You can test drive it. Get it for the week. Get it right now for the Open. If you haven't, get it right now. Try it for the week. You're going to love it. And then you can upgrade to either the monthly or the annual membership, and you still get to keep the 20% off as long as you sign up with the promo code and the website, fantasynational.com/TJ. So we really appreciate them. More to come about Fantasy National here in just a moment. Pat, we've got an incredible show lined up tonight. I am excited. First off, what are we drinking tonight, baby? I'm going to do what you did the other night. Or no, did you do the triple?
Yeah, I did the triple. The triple was the night
I didn't get any triple. So this is the Side Bay. This is the 16-ounce Side Bay double IPA from our friends at Wild Leap. Harrison is asking in the chat what we drinking tonight. Not your Harrison, so that's good. He's normally
thank God.
Every now and then he gets on the show. Yeah. So to me tonight, normally I'm liquor. I'm doing some liquor, but tonight it's beer in an ice cold frosted glass for me. It looks like you got a little beer tonight too, Pat.
I do have a beer. Is it okay if it's not a Wild Leap?
No.
It's a Wild Leap. It's a Wild Leap. It's a Wild Leap ale. It's really good. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's a Wild Leap ale.
Look at that right there. Golly. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you should hit the like button for that. Look at that. God, that is just beautiful. I'm going to enjoy that. We're going to have a great show tonight. Listen, it's a big week ahead. A lot of content coming at you. Last week, we mailed it in. We told you we were going to mail it in for the John Deere, okay? And we did. This week, no such thing. Here we are on a Sunday night recording the Open Championship DraftKings preview. On Monday night, we're going to record the betting show, hoping to see more betting options and lines out there for the betting show. So we're going to hit that tomorrow night. The Chalk Bomb's coming back this week after predicting the Bryson DeChambeau miscut at the Rocket Mortgage. So the Chalk Bomb heater has begun. The 10 facts are back. Obviously, DB's Big Balls betting card is keeping rolling. Pat's Not That Anyone Really Cares betting card will be found on Twitter in the Nut Hut. We've got AC's. Hold on. I'm working through it. You got AC's DraftKings preview write-up, which is a comprehensive article about the golf course, about our picks and his picks and all kind of good stuff. You've got the pivot point from Tim Gaiman, 2 guys you should consider pivoting to because of ownership. You've got the Fantasy Golf Sommelier, which I know Pat is cooking up a little something special this week for the Fantasy Golf Sommelier video found only on our YouTube channel. So if you're not watching that, I don't know what you're doing. Pat, do you want to give us a teaser on that, or you want to keep it all close to the chest?
No teasers at all. It obviously will have a very Open Championship type feel to it. So we'll see.
And of course, the Nut Hut is going to be popping all week. Man, first of all, I got to congratulate our Nut Hut Listener League winner. Every week we have the Listener League there in the Nut Hut, and the winner gets a spot in the finals in just a few weeks, Pat. And if you win the finals, you get a chance to come to Augusta and play golf with us at Champions Retreat, or you can choose Savannah and go play the landings with me and Pat, and just have yourself a Tour Junkies weekend with me and Pat, and it's going to be fantastic. All expenses paid. It's an incredible opportunity, and the winner every week gets a spot in the finals. And guess who won? I won, you mother. I won. I did. I owned all y'all suckers with a massive lineup. Just a very simple defeat in the Nut Hut Listener League. And you know what? The guy who finished second, I think it was Trey. Who was it? Trey or somebody? Trig, something. I don't know what his name is, but you lose, and I'm sorry. You actually already have a spot in the finals. So if you didn't have a spot in the finals, I would feel worse about it. But we don't award second place here at the Tour Junkies. You ain't first, you're last. You got beat by me, and yeah, that's all she wrote. So now I do want to take this opportunity to talk about something that I do think is important. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but this could be a just the tip segment, honestly. Trip Z, Trip Z was our second place winner. Shout out. If you do a listener league for a small amount of money, maybe, or you play a cash lineup for a small amount of money, whatever. If you do that, always put that lineup in a GPP, just in case. Just put it in a GPP,
please.
Even if you say, "Hey, I'm going to do a cash lineup and I'm going to do a GPP lineup, and I'm going to do 3 cash games, 3 cash entries, and 10 GPP entries." Make one of those GPP entries the same as your cash entry. Just do it. I did not. I got some last minute information on Wednesday night from a source, trusted source, used to be a trusted source, late Wednesday night about Adam Schenk, and I had a good share of Adam Schenk in my player pool, and it was negative information about Mr. Schenk, and I took him out of all my lineups except for the listener league lineup. I replaced him with, I think, Satoshi Kodaira, who missed the cut. Had I kept him in the lineups that I took him out of, I would have had a much better week than I did, and at one point would have really had a good week. So I'm actually grateful he ended up not winning and Lucas Glover won, because it made the pain a little less. But lesson to everyone. Everyone, put your cash lineup or your little listener league dinky lineup, or if you play in a little side league with your buddies for like $5, always put that lineup in some GPP, even if it's a small GPP. Just put it in there, okay, in case it hits. And I've been doing this 6 years, and I just didn't do it. So I'm an idiot, but I did beat all y'all suckers in the Nut Hut. And shout out to my team, by the way. I think it's the Liger Woods team in the general nonsense pool, because we just owned all y'all little puppets. That's what we did. We owned y'all. Me and Caridi up there, Aussie DB up there. Y'all got waxed, and I know you're not happy about it, but it happened, and you need to deal with it. Okay, moving on. So that's a little bit about the content this week. It's going to be a great week. It's going to be chock full of stuff. We also had a ton of people in the Nut Hut win a bunch of money. So shout out. In fact, producer Sam, Pat, I don't even know if you were on for this. I just heard before the show, producer Sam had an outright on Lucas Glover.
Yeah, I was there. I heard it. Good job, producer Sam.
The only person that had an outright on Lucas Glover. There's no way.
I can't believe I didn't, because usually you know me, I love to put something on Lucas. Yeah. But I thought it was just going to be a putting contest. I didn't think he was going to be able to putt his way to a victory. And he did.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. Listen, before we get into, I think we should do this. Now, we got a lot of listeners watching live right now. We appreciate you watching live on YouTube. You guys are the best. Be sure and hit the thumbs up button. Give it a like. Give it a subscribe if you haven't already. We would appreciate that. And if you're not watching live and you're watching after we recorded it, leave us a comment. What's like the I don't know. Give us a comment on something. I don't know. Give us your favorite thing about England, whatever that is. Your favorite thing about England. Listen, we have a fun segment coming up. We have Nut Up or Shut Up, which is the new game show that we unveiled just last week for the first time ever. Our very first contestant, Josh Kistler, won the Nut Up or Shut Up game. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. We've got a new contestant tonight, And actually, producer Sam, you don't have to bring him up yet, but I think we're going to go ahead and get to that, and then we'll get into the strategy and all that stuff after that. We're going to spend ample time on the DFS picks and the DraftKings picks, but we want to have a little fun first, and we want to hopefully give away a really cool prize. Very cool prize tonight is up for grabs. Our friends at Fantasy National Golf Club have decided that if our contestant tonight wins the Nut Up or Shut Up game, he will get a free year subscription to Fantasy National, and if he's already a member, that year will be tacked on to your existing membership. So that's like a $200-something value right there from Fantasy National. So, check it out, fantasynational.com/TJ, where you go to get 20% off that membership. And if he loses, we're just going to tell him to go use the promo code and buy it anyway. But hopefully he's not going to lose. It's going to be a fun game. He's a long-time Nut Hut member. I'm pretty sure he's won a few contests. He's won some money in DFS. Now, keep in mind, the Nut Hut contestants are only chosen from Nut Hut member pools. We're not going to pick you if you're not a Nut Hut member, so get off me and don't slide up in our DMs trying to suck up. Well, we could be bribed, though. We probably could be bribed, I would think. Tonight, Pat's going to be our lovely host. How about that? You excited for that, Pat?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Okay. Why don't we get ready for the best game in the DFS streets? Nut Up or Shut Up. Nut up or shut up, nut up or shut up, nut up or shut up. There you go. I just made that. I made that up right there.
Made up the theme song for
I
Nut
made
Up or
the
Shut
jingle
Up.
up right there. All right, producer Sam, why don't you bring in our contestant tonight for Nut Up or Shut Up, Mr. Alan Klutz. What up, Alan?
What's up, boys? Can you hear me?
We got you, man. You're on a little bit of a delay, like you're in outer space, but it's okay. It's a lovely backdrop you got there. You doing some gardening, some flowering or something you got going on? You got a green thumb on you there, Alan?
Well, I'm actually visiting family in Chicago right now, so hanging out in Chicago, but making a little time here for my two favorite boys.
Oh, listen, Alan, we appreciate it. Longtime Nut Hut member. I think you're probably early in there. We appreciate it. Are you ready for this tonight? You excited?
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Okay.
A little bit of a delay. Here we go. All right, Alan, what we're going to do, Pat's going to ask you the questions. Now, here's the deal. Neither one of you guys know this yet, but Pat is going to ask you the questions in a British accent. All the questions will be asked in a British accent. And Alan, you will have to answer in a British accent. Okay, they're multiple choice questions. You're going to be asked 8 questions. You just have to get 5 correct. If you get 5 correct, you win the prize from Fantasy National. And one time, you may ask the chat for help. If you can't see the chat, we will help you. We'll tell you what's up in the chat. So you have to answer the questions in a British accent the whole time. We will not accept the answer, okay? Do you understand everything so far?
Cheerio, governor.
Oh, okay. All right. Look at him. Hey, there we go.
My
I'm
gosh.
excited
You
about
didn't tell me that we were going to have to do this. I feel like I'm going to have to ask these questions like the starter at the Open Championship, you know? The guy is like, on the tee from England, Lee Westwood.
Yes. I think you should give Alan that intro right now on the tee for Nut Up or Shut Up. All right. Now, Pat, remember, I will tell him if the answers are correct or not, okay? All right. Take it away.
Okay, on the tee from somewhere in the U.S. Where are you from, Alan?
Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay, on the tee from Ann Arbor, Michigan, Alan Klutz, who stands as the youngest ever winner of the Open Championship.
Nice.
Is it A, Jordan Spieth, B, Tiger Woods, C, Bobby Locke, or D, young Tom Morris?
I'm going to go with D.
It is young Tom Morris. Well done. Well done. He got the first one right. All right, Pat.
Okay. Which of these is not part of a full English breakfast? Baked beans, avocado, blood pudding, or sausages? A full English
Let's
breakfast.
go with.
You can ask the chat.
Let's go with avocado. We'll go with avocado.
We got avocado. There we
Got
go.
it. Okay. Okay. Number 3. He has played in the last 5 Open Championships, but only made the cut once. Is it A, Hideki, B, Gary Woodland from Kansas, C, Shane Lowry, D, Phil Mickelson?
Don't forget the British accent, Alan.
I am going to go with the Irish Bear, Shane Lowry.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
3 for 3. Wow, he might sweep this thing. All right, here we go.
Name the James Bond villain. Villain. Listed among these players: Ernst Blofeld, Jaco Owlers. Sam, I'm going to kill you for these names. F you, Sam. I know you did this on purpose. Just Luton or Cole Hammer.
Pat, can you repeat it one time?
No.
Yes.
Name of the James Bond villain listed among these players: Ernst Blofeld, Jaco Ehlers, Just Luton, or Cole Hammer.
Let's go with the second one.
That is incorrect. That was, you said Jaco Ehlers. It was actually Ernst Blofeld was the James Bond villain. Gotcha. All right. He's 3 for 4. Next question.
Which of these gentlemen is a local car dealer in Sandwich, UK? Not an actual golfer who has qualified for the Open Championship field. J.C. Ritchie, Poom Sasanen. Wait, let me say that one again. Poom Success Samson. Fuck you, Sam. Malcolm Waite or Dean Burmester.
I'm going to go with C.
Yeah, yes. Yes. Okay.
It wasn't Poom Success?
Poom Sensen.
Okay, you got 4 right. All you got to do is get one more, Alan. You're doing great.
God, Alan, come on. This famous golfer is rumored to have romanced the Duchess of Sussex. The Duchess of Sussex. Sussex.
Sussex.
Sussex. Greg Norman, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, or young Tom Morris?
I'm going to ask the chat on this one. I have a suspicion. I think I know what it is, but I want to ask the chat on this one.
Want to be safe?
Okay, I'm trying.
Okay, chat.
Should I ask the chat?
No, yeah, the chat can see the question. So the famous golfer rumored to have romanced with the what, Pat?
The Duchess of Sussex.
There we go. Is it Greg Norman, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, or young Tom Morris? Oh God, Alan, can you see the chat, or do we need to tell you what's up? It looks like the chat. What's going on?
I think I kind of see it. But if you wouldn't mind just telling me.
So far, you're getting no help.
Nobody knows.
That might have been bad. Matt asked the chat. Let's see. Can anybody help him?
Oh, there's a Rory. There's a Rory.
Rory, but who knows if Alex knows what the hell he's talking about. Okay, you got 3 Rorys now. By the way, Meghan Markle is the Duchess of Sussex. That's a hint from Sam. So that
Then you know what? Let's go with Rory. Let's go with Rory.
Rory is the final answer after asking the chat, which I'm curious as to whether or not the chat will, when it all shakes out in the end, be one you can trust or not here on Nut Up or Shut Up. But Rory is the answer given by Alan Klutz, needing one more answer correctly to get the Fantasy National Prize. And he's done it. Congratulations, Alan. He didn't even need all the questions. Fantastic work by you. Fantastic work by Pat. That was very amusing for me. We're going to have to go back and watch this again to see the pronunciation issues. But, Alan, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for supporting Tour Junkies and being a Nut Hut member. And enjoy your likely additional year to Fantasy National, because I'm sure you're probably already a member.
Yeah, like I said, thank you guys. You guys are the best. God bless our sweet prince, Cameron Davis.
Yes.
Hit that 110 to 1 last week. So didn't hit one this week, but we got, it's Open Championship week, boys. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Thanks, Alan. We appreciate it, man. We're going to have a good show after that. That's a good start. We appreciate it. Have a good time with the family, and we'll see you later.
All right, take it easy, boys. Thanks again.
Oh, thanks, Alan.
That was beautiful, man. I gotta say that was beautiful. He did a great job there. Alan did a great job coming through. He did pretty good. I mean, he didn't even have to get all the questions in there. He nailed it. That was Nut Up or Shut Up, presented to you by Fantasy National. We appreciate those guys this week helping us out. Alan's going to get a free membership there for a year. That's good stuff. You never know when your number's going to get called for Nut Up or Shut Up. You got to be a Nut Hut member, though. That's for sure. So there you go. Let's move on, Pat, and talk about this golf course. Royal St. George's is a beaut. It's a real beaut. And it sits there right there, Sandwich, Kent, England,
Yeah.
right there, right there near the North Sea. It's a beautiful place. Tell us about the golf course, what you know, and some thoughts.
Yes, so Royal St. George's Golf Club this week, it is a par 70, playing 7,189 yards, so not terribly long compared to tour standards. You got 156 players in the field. Low 70 in ties will make the cut at the Open Championship, so pay attention to that cut rule. It is a traditional links course positioned on the southeast coast, which leaves it very open to the elements with hardly any trees. This is actually the location for the first Open Championship held on English soil. But it is traditionally proven to be a very difficult course and tough to score on. Greens and fairways are a mix of bent grass with fescue, which is pretty common here. A lot of fescue around here. Rough is obviously thick fescue as well. The tournament, the course typically would play pretty firm and fast. We have heard from some folks over there, though, they've gotten a lot of rain in the area, and it is very green and a little more luscious than it might normally be this time of year. So I think that could be something that we want to look at. There's a ton of slopes and runoffs on this golf course. Extremely deep bunkers, which you've got to avoid, whether it's off the tee or around the greens. They are very difficult to get out of if you get it into the bunkers here. And then once you do get it on the greens, they can run pretty quick. And like I said, they got a lot of slope all over the place. I mean, this is the type of course, and really link style golf is this way, where you can hit what you think is a great shot, and it turns out to be a crappy shot. So you got to have a lot of patience around these type courses. There can be weather issues. We might see that. We'll have to look at that as the week goes on, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, a lot in the Nut Hut, because weather waves can be very important when it comes to the Open Championship. But I really believe almost any style of player can win here. If it is playing a little softer than normal, then I do think, it could obviously bring in some of these longer players with more of an advantage. But still, on a relatively shorter course by tour standards, I think almost any type player can win here. I like the guys that are imaginative, that have a lot of just feel for the game. They aren't robots out there. They know how to hit it in different winds. They know how to play in the weather. They know how to just really create shots and control their ball on this golf course, which is what you got to do. So for me, looking at stats, definitely looking at form. I'm looking at ball striking. I think you can look on Fantasy National at ball striking, long-term and windy AF conditions. That might be something you want to look at as well. Always looking at approach play and your traditional good putters, just, guys that, can putt well on surfaces like these that they're not, playing all the time, but they traditionally are, just great putters, and they have really good short games. You look at past champions of the Open Championship, obviously no tournament last year. We had Shane Lowry in 2019 and 2018, Francesco Molinari, Jordan Spieth in 2017, Henrik Stenson in 16, and Zach Johnson in 2015. A couple of notable champs here. Greg Norman in 1993 won here. Ben Curtis out of freaking nowhere won here in 2003. And then Darren Clark was your last champion at this golf course, and that was in 2011, where I believe DJ and Ricky Fowler were up there in the top 10 that year. Just a couple notes. That's all I got right now on the course, DB. I'm sure you got a few notes here to add, but should be a good test for these guys, and excited to see them get started on Thursday morning. By the way, remember that, okay? Early, all right? We're a time difference, all right? Let's be smart about this, okay? You got to get your lineups in early. Got to get them going. Don't get caught, forgetting that there's a time difference.
Yeah.
Be stupid, but still, there's probably people that do it. Dumbass.
Listen, if you guys were on the show a couple weeks ago when Pat got mad and walked off and went on the epic rant, and you think me and producer Sam did not grab a bunch of sound bites off of that and now loaded them up into the soundboard, you've lost your mind.
Yeah, of course you did.
Pat, fantastic course breakdown there. Yeah, I've got some things to add for sure, and I want to talk a little bit of strategy, a little bit of theory stuff, reminders. A lot of times with these major championships, we get a big uptick in listenership. I think it's a lot of new people or people that are just dipping their toe in, or they're not super regulars at this. So I want to remind those folks of a few things. But also, how about Ben Curtis won here in 2003? Remember him? He used to wear like the NFL teams and like the Major League Baseball teams.
I did just bring that up, but
you did. I just was thinking about his hats. Remember his?
Yeah, he did the. Didn't Payne Stewart used to do that too, though? Did he copy that from Payne Stewart?
Oh gosh, I don't know. That was more your era, but I do remember Ben Curtis doing that.
I could be wrong, but I know I do. You are right. Curtis did do that.
We've already talked to a couple folks that are there on site, but we've also talked to our boy Ash Morrison, who's done some writing for us over there on the European tour. Ash lives less than an hour from this golf course. He's played it a bunch of times. He's got a bunch of his members at his club that are over there as volunteers. So he's been sending us a lot of information. He's the one that was kind of telling us that the course is a lot softer, a lot greener than you would like to see it for traditional links, firm and fast. But he still thinks, while yes, it's going to play a little longer than what typically it would play, that it's still, like Pat said, is going to kind of be opened up to a lot of different players, the bombers, the more accurate types. He talked about the bunkering being very important in the fairways, that, the bunkers are so penal that it's a lot. On the PGA Tour, we see guys like tempt, bombers like go ahead and say, I'm just going to try to carry the hell out of that bunker. But they know that if they get in the bunker, it's not that big a deal. Like over there, he said they're going to think twice because those fairway bunkers are extremely penalizing. And that if you're going to try to take them on, you better feel good about your ability to take them on. Other than that, you're going to want to place your ball in the fairway and be ready to go. He also mentioned, because I watched a couple videos and flyovers on the course, and he talked about some of these greens being pretty undulating. I actually find these greens to have kind of a mix, right? There's some that are pretty undulating. I noticed a couple that were like really flat, but I also noticed they weren't your typical like St. Andrew style greens, right? Where they were super big. There's a couple of them that are pretty big, but there's a few that are pretty small.
Yeah,
and
they're not huge.
Ash confirmed. He's like, they're not typical like super tiny or super massive, links greens with like all these different levels on them and stuff. Definitely the course is going to play linksy because it's wide open. There's one tree on the golf course, and it's behind number 3, I think, the par 3, or next to number 3. But and it's coastal, and there's a lot of sand and dunes, and the ball's still going to be played on the ground despite it being soft. But it's going to be an interesting test. It looks like a really nice course, and like you mentioned, it's never really produced really high scoring, right? I mean, I think Greg Norman won at 13 under, but he basically lapped the field that year. Other than that, 5 under has been the best number. So, I think anywhere from that 4 to 6, 7 under is probably where we're looking. So, as you said, the right mentality to win and play the Open matters. And I think when you look at Open champions, you see a lot of old timers, right? You see some veterans in there. Experience tends to matter at the Open a lot more than, say, the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship. Experience matters. Patience matters. Being able to deal with tough breaks, because you get tough breaks in these bunkers. You get tough breaks in this fescue. You get the tough side of the weather draw. And things change on a dime in terms of weather out there. So being able to accept that and grind it out is going to be another thing. And the weather wave advantage is huge. You definitely have to look at that. I wrote this down. Do not, hold on. You got to hold your bets. And you can't get too committed to your player pool prior to Wednesday. If you're here in the States, you just can't, because we have seen massive weather advantages at the Open Championship. They all go off of they all go off of one tee. It's not split tees. So it takes a long time to get these guys through the golf course. And there is a real advantage a lot of times. So if you're too committed, you can really find yourself on some guys that get the bad end of the draw, and you play them anyway, and then you get screwed. So there you go. So I would say this is also a good week to kind of maybe not jump too early at your outright bets. Obviously, that show we're going to hit you with tomorrow night, but the outright bets and like locking in, players in your pool for DraftKings, I would kind of be more cautious this week. Let the information and the weather take shape, and then go from there on Wednesday and really, commit on Wednesday. You also see, with maybe a few exceptions, maybe Darren Clark is one of the only exceptions in the last 10 years. Most of the winners here at the Open Championship come from that top 40 world golf ranking, top 50 world golf ranking. We're going to talk about a lot of guys in the 7K, 6K range that are going to present a lot of value. But, you got to have the guys that are going to win this golf tournament. Those guys are coming in the 10K, the 9K, and the 8K range. That's where they're coming from. Historically, that's where they're coming from here if we're talking DraftKings. So, thinking lineup construction, it's one of those weeks, because the other thing that happens at the Open all the time, and some of that may be because of the weather wave, but Pat, I mean, every year at the Open, you see more random guys that make the cut or even finish top 25 than any other major.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and some of that is because you're getting a lot of European Tour guys that are in here that some people may not know about, which is one reason to that you can really gain a huge edge, listening to us or doing other research, going into the Nut Hut, things like that, because there's a lot of guys that you just don't typically see play over in the States and in most majors that will be playing this week and have been in good form and that could pop. And you're right. I mean, we talked about Ben Curtis one here. Ben freaking Curtis.
Yeah, that's true.
He wasn't a European Tour player when he won, but still, I mean, you're going to get guys up there that you're just going to be like, who in the hell is that? But that's what happens on courses like this, and tournaments like this, because there is really just no particular style that can, that is just definitely going to win here. And and I think that makes it fun. It makes it exciting.
Oh,
and, yeah.
Well, yeah. And so I'm saying that to say, yes, you want to nail some of those guys or have some of that ownership leverage. I guess what I'm saying is, even though there's a lot of that, we don't want to be too cute, right? You want to, if you're playing DFS and you're trying to compete in these GPPs, you want to make sure you have the winner. You want to make sure you have plenty of guys in that top 5, top 10. And that may be with a sprinkle or two of some random low-owned dudes that finish in the top 25, and those happen. But you can't get too cute. I want you can definitely afford to leave plenty of money on the table in DraftKings. The pricing is super soft. I mean, John Rahm at 11.3 or whatever he is pretty soft. It's you can afford to leave $1,000. You can afford to leave $1,200 on the table in DraftKings and feel okay. And so if you're playing some a handful of GPP entries, but yeah, you better make sure that you have a good piece of that 8K to 10K range, because chances are your winner is going to come from there, right? And then let's see if we can get a couple of these randoms here in the bottom to kind of round it out for you. But the weather wave, we can't stress enough, man. And again, that's why the Nut Hut's important. So go to tourjunkies.com. If you don't know what the Nut Hut is, that's our private member chat over in it's a Discord server. It's $10 a month, $90 for the whole year. And you can join us and 450 or so members now in the Nut Hut over on Discord. We have a blast every single week. We have so much fun there. Ton of people making friends, a couple people making enemies. I got my puppets over there, and we're having a good time, right? And we're exchanging some information. We're all getting better playing DFS and betting. Our weekly caddy inside information that we share, or people that we know that are on site, on the grounds, we share there exclusively in the Nut Hut. And then you get 20% off anything you buy from the Tour Junkies shop is also in the Nut Hut. So check it out, tourjunkies.com. Join Golby's. Just click on Golby's Nut Hut up there on tourjunkies.com. $10 a month. That's super easy. Just try it out. We bet you'll like it. But come Wednesday night, we'll be in the chat room talking it up, talking about what the weather's looking like and where we're going, and ownership projections. We're going to have plenty of ownership projections in there as well. You're going to need to understand, what's going on there. And as always, you can eat some chalk, right? We're going to talk about who are the chalky plays that we project in these ranges tonight. And some of it you're gonna want to go ahead and take down your gullet and eat it up, and some of it you're gonna not. And it's a stacked field. There's a ton of good names in here. You can't play them all. You shouldn't play them all. I guess you could play them all, but you shouldn't. You know what I mean? You want to get that player pool a little tighter and get ready to go. I think another thing to think about is the Ryder Cup standings. There's a bunch of names in here that are looking at the Ryder Cup going, I want to make sure I'm in that thing, or I'm as close to the top 12 as possible to get in the Ryder Cup. There's not, before we know it, those teams will be selected, and these guys are going to want to jockey for position there for the Ryder Cup. So those are all the things I think you got to kind of know and understand and put in your brain before you start picking names and clicking through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the Open Championship is definitely the major where, it's not just all about this. It's never all about the stats, I guess, but stats really play a huge factor in a lot of other majors. But this is one where it's just like, I think you can trust your gut a little more with like, if you got a guy that you think you feel like you think he's got like a good natural ability to play courses like this, that's not going to get mad when he has, hits a bad shot into the fescue somewhere that he thought was a great shot. Like, this is like just a mental grind type course. So I think that, there's a lot of different ways that you can go. There's not just one way to do it. And so trust your gut a little more this week. I think that would be the one advice I'd give you.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think that's a good take. I do want to talk about the stats, or how we want to get into that. Before that, though, on Friday, this is also a pro move. On Friday, I'm going to take the day off. I'm just going to take the day off, and I'm going to get up in the morning, and I'm going to turn the TV on. I'm going to start with a nice cup of coffee and probably a shit, and then I am going to head to the golf course early. And I'm going to have one of my favorite beverages before I go out and have lunch and play golf and watch the Open with my buddy. It's going to be a great day. I recommend you take the day off. Take the day off and watch a lot of golf from the Open. But when I have one of my favorite beverages on Friday on the golf course, it's going to be with Arnold Palmer Spiked. It's a classic taste. We love Arnie. I got to meet Arnie personally one time, hang out with Arnie at Augusta National. The tea and lemonade that we already know and love, but with 5% alcohol by volume, people. It's got real juice, brewed teas, a really smooth flavor, super easy going on the golf course, riding around with your boys. You can take a couple down in the summer. You could take a couple down in the winter, hot, cold, doesn't matter. It's the Arnold Palmer Spiked is the way to go, on or off the golf course. You know what I mean? So it's perfect. If you're just kicking back at the house watching the Open, if you're playing golf, whatever it is, the Arnold Palmer Spiked is what you need. Okay, it's good. It's classic refreshment, and nothing beats an Arnold Palmer. And it's got 5% alcohol by volume. That's better than a lot of other things that we won't mention. It comes in multi-packs or tall 24-ounce cans, perfect for sipping throughout the day. Or if you're at the beach like Pat, you go to the beach a lot, or you're in the garden. Yeah. He goes to the garden. A lot of people don't know that.
Multi-packs. I like anything in a multi-pack. I like.
Yeah, if it's got multi-pack and ABV, sign me up.
Mm-hmm.
So find Arnold Palmer Spiked in a store near you at arnoldpalmerspiked.com/Tour Junkies. Go to that website, y'all. Check it out. arnoldpalmerspiked.com/Tour Junkies. Or search for it on Drizzly and Instacart. That's arnoldpalmer.com/Tour Junkies. 2021 Hornell Brewing Company, Memphis, Tennessee. Malt beverage with natural flavors. Celebrate responsibly. Thank you, Arnold Palmer Spiked, for hooking us up, sending us some APSs, with some ABVs. And let's get into it, Pat. I want to talk about stats. Obviously, you can look at history at the Open Championship. Not a lot of guys played here in 2011, but there are a few, including the guy who won the John Deere today, Lucas Glover. But Open Championship record is something to look at. Recent form, I think, is probably the most important. And you can definitely just go on, like Pat said, like a little bit of gut. It's a lot of confidence. It's a lot of that strokes gain home life, just stuff's clicking. You don't necessarily have to be in the weeds of why it's clicking or what's clicking and what's not, but if it's clicking, that's good. You know what I mean? I did, in terms of stats, I looked at a couple things. I pulled up on Fantasy National driving distance, fairways gained, good drives gained, side by side for all the players. Just because I want to see, I don't have to have the bomber. I don't have to have just the short dink and dunker that, doesn't hit it past the shadow. But I'd like to see the balance for the players. I kind of want to see where they rank in both. I looked at strokes gained approach, strokes gained around the green. Scrambling, getting up and down, and being creative with wedges is going to be super important here. I mean, anytime you have a tough course where scoring is not going to be, 10, 15, 20 under, that's going to play a role. Guys are going to have to get up and down and save pars, right? So around the green play is going to be huge. I also looked at sand saves, and I don't ever look at sand saves, but I actually I'm looking at a rolling report. So short-term form to long-term form in sand saves, just to give me an idea. It's not something that I'm going to, hang my hat on, or if a guy checks every other box, but he sucks out of the sand, I'm not going to be mad about it. But it is something that I want to know, because if you're just a really garbage sand player and you find yourself in one of these pot bunkers, these deep face bunkers, greenside, more times than not, it's going to be bad. And I just, I want to try to see who's got it, and it might be a good little, tiebreaker for me. Anything else for you on stats? Obviously, stroke approach, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at approach. I mentioned around the green for sure. I think just ball striking in general. I did look at ball striking in windy AF conditions. I threw that in there as just part of the model. I didn't get any did not give it a weight per se, but just wanted to kind of see the guys that over last 100 rounds were good in those type conditions. So I like good drives gained here this week as well. And then I think bogey avoidance. I think in any major, bogey avoidance, especially when you're talking about a grind, lower scores, that kind of thing, like we see at the U.S. Open. I like to throw in a bogey avoidance is something that you want to look at as well. Guys that don't tend to make a lot of bogeys, and they make a lot of pars, and they're pretty steady. So
I like that. Yeah, that's another good one. Okay, let's get into it, Pat. Let's talk about the 9K and above range on DraftKings. All the things we just said, and all the things we said about not locking into your players until Wednesday, until you see the tee times and weather wave and all that, is Sunday night. Okay, this is Sunday night. We're recording this. We're going to give you our favorite players in each range and our fades in each range as of Sunday night. So things are going to change by the time you read articles on our website. By the time you get the Nut Hut chat, things are going to be different. Ownership's going to take shape. Weather waves are going to take shape. All the stuff we're going to get from the course is going to be shaped up. So just pump your brakes if things look a little different by the end of the week, and don't kill us if you're like, you said you liked this guy on the show, and then you said you didn't like him in your betting card. Are you just doing stuff weird? So just don't do that.
Dumbass.
Yeah. So let's get into
be your favorite.
I love it.
That's gonna be. Oh my gosh.
Me and Sam were talking about it before the show. You sound like such an old man. You sound like old man yells at cloud guy, right? You're like, dumbass. It's so good.
You're welcome, Sam. You're welcome.
Thank you, man. We had a good laugh at that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way because, the people are expecting this of me. My fade, and I'm going to start with the fade, is Bryson. F it. I'm not buying Bryson at the Open Championship, and I'm probably not the only one. And I'm sure there's probably some contrarian views out there, and I get it. Listen, Bryson DeChambeau is good enough to win anywhere on the planet. He really is. But I just think chances are he's not ready to win the Open this year, not based on everything going on. His recent play, his record here so far, he's got 2 missed cuts and a T51 at the Open Championship. If you look at previous winning trends over the last 10 years, they all had at least one top, I think, 15 finish at an Open Championship prior to, and he's sucked in it. He, according to Fantasy National, does not do well in the wind in windy AF conditions. His around the green game is what concerns me a lot. The scrambling around the green, getting out of these bunkers, and being, now Bryson is, for someone who's the scientist, right? Like, he is pretty artistic. I don't think it's that he lacks the artistic ability to get up and down around greens. I actually think he just overthinks the hell out of it, and he shouldn't have a 56-degree wedge that's the length of a 6-iron. That's my personal opinion. It is completely unfounded, but I just think it's kind of ridiculous. But I don't see him doing well around these greens. It concerns me a little bit. And then the caddy drama. Now, he did announce his new caddy is one of his teachers out of Dallas National, a guy who apparently has a great relationship with, who's been working with him for a long time, works with him on his swing, works with him on his distance. All that could be a great thing. I mean, Webb Simpson's caddy, Paul Tesori, is also his coach. That could definitely work for him. I believe that it could. I don't, will it be right off the bat first event? Great. I don't know. But I just know that there's a lot of stuff. There's just a lot of things that are distractions and just things that I feel like are kind of working against him here. So he's an easy fade for me. I really, and I don't think I would even be I'm not even going to be tempted to play him if he's like 10% owned. I don't think I would. Now, that's probably stupid. Game theory would probably tell you if Bryson's like 10%, you play Bryson. The win equity is so amazing, and he could hit here at any point. But I'm just not buying it. I don't know that I could be talked into him. So he's my fade. My favorite plays in this range, there's 4 that I'm trying to decide between. I'm going to only give you 3. I'm going to at least go ahead and tell you the no-brainer for me is Jordan Spieth. I think this is a Spieth week, 100%. I think this is a Spieth week. The wedge play, the creativity around the greens, the short game, and everything else has been dialed. His Open Championship record, he's there. The recent form, everything is pointing to a good Jordan Spieth week, and I love it. So I'm full send on Spieth. I am full send on Brooks Koepka at 10-7. In fact, he is the highest priced player for me. That's as high as I'm going with in this range. It's going to be Brooks Koepka at 10-7, coming off the 5th at the Travelers, the 4th at the U.S. Open, the close call at the PGA. I mean, we know what Brooks does in majors, right? And we know Brooks loves the Open Championship. He's got T4 in 2019, T6 in 2017. He came up, cut his teeth on the Challenge Tour over in Europe. A lot of people don't know that or forget that. He didn't come up on the Web.com Corn Ferry Tour. He came up on the Challenge Tour. He played European Tour style golf. He's quite familiar with this type of stuff, and I think he enjoys it. I also think he just, I don't know, he's a good grinder, right? Like I do think that's why he does well in major championships. He's level-headed. He's not going to get too worked up on a bad break, or he just doesn't do it. So I love Brooks here. I'm having a tough time between my next 2. I'll only say one because you may mention one. I think I'm going to roll with Justin Thomas at 9,600. It's too cheap. Now, me and producer Sam were just talking about JT before the show. He looked a little out of sorts at the Scottish. He finished T8 at the Scottish Open just this past week. Topped the ball with his 3-wood. He did look a little out of sorts, okay? But he still finished T8, okay? And it's still Justin Thomas at $9,600. He also doesn't have the greatest Open Championship record, T11 in 2019, the last time out. And that's his best finish. Other than that, 2 missed cuts and a 53rd place finish. So not great for JT. But the ability for him to win on any course, I mean, difficult courses, but if the scoring conditions are a little easier, I like it. The price tag of 9,600. top 20 at the U.S. Open when I don't think he had his best stuff there either. I think JT is interesting. Some of the trends do concern me a little bit. The approach play has been a little off. The around the green game, the sand save stuff, long term, short term is all solid. It really is going to come down to the iron play, and I think he did okay here at the Scottish this past week. So T8 for JT this week at the Scottish. I think I'm going to ride with it. Let me see what his let me pull this up. I want to see where he finished in greens and reg for the Scottish Open. All right. So greens and regulation, he was 83.3%, which was good for 14th in the field. So I mean, he was hitting greens and reg. Yeah. So he hit the ball well, hit the ball better at the Scottish Open. So those are my picks. There you go.
All right. Well, we have a lot of agreement here, and that makes me wonder. It'll be interesting to see. I think this whole range, the ownership is going to be interesting once we kind of see this get out there. But I am with you on the fade of Bryson. I think I don't like his style of play here. And I think that, I mean, you look at scrambling. I mean, he's 113th in the field. I mean, the guy's just, he just doesn't have it for me for this type of a course. And so I'm going to fade him as well. Now, since that was your fade, DJ is looking like a fade for me right now. And I know he competed well here last time they played this course, and he just hasn't been doing anything lately. But there's also a part of me that wonders, like, if we get DJ like later in the week, like really low owned, he is
question. If you had DJ and Bryson both projected at 10%, do you play either? If you do, which one do you play? Do you play both?
I play DJ. Even though I think Bryson is obviously better form this year, DJ would be the play. He's number one in the field in strokes gained, ball striking in windy AF conditions. If you look over the last 100 rounds, so it's not like DJ hasn't shown that he can play these type courses well. But I do think right now he's a fade. Jordan was really my number one guy here at 9,700. I love Jordan this week.
Strong agreement there, huh?
I think he is, a fantastic play. I love him. I don't mind the JT play either. Outside of the top that he had in the, which was, all over social media, he still played really well. And if you get a lower owned JT, I think that makes a lot of sense. I still am going to, John Rahm at 11-3. I'm sorry. I just cannot fade that. I think you can still play him at 11-3, and you can make up some fantastic lineups. The guy is the hottest player in the world. Could have won last week at the Scottish Open. So at 11-3, John Rahm is another one of my favorite plays there. And then I'm going to go down on the bottom. Mr. Get some sand in your eye and drop out of the U.S. Open. That is Victor Hovland at 9,100. Absolutely love him this week. What did he do, by the way, after that withdrawal? He comes back and wins the BMW International. Now, it wasn't, a great field like we had.
It was pretty strong.
It wasn't bad. Yeah. So, I love Victor this week. You look at the stats for him, approach, ball striking.
Yeah,
I think the putting is the one thing that's going to be an issue, and then his scrambling. Although his scrambling has improved, it has improved this year.
It has.
So, but I think we might get a little bit lower owned Victor Hovland than we've had at a major so far this year. So I like him at 9,100. So
yeah, that's true. I do think you're going to get lower owned Vic. The scrambling does worry me on him, though. It really does. But I mean, if he is on. He can just pepper greens. So he will be an interesting one to watch. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this range, because you mentioned John Rahm. I do think you can easily play John Rahm. You can play any of these guys because the pricing is so soft and the field is so deep. You can absolutely play these guys. So, like, we're giving you our favorite picks, but don't feel, if you got your guys you like roll with it. There's no reason you shouldn't play John Rahm unless you just want to fade the ownership and you're going to eat the chalk somewhere else. And other than that, we can't give you a reason to fade John Rahm. He's clearly the best player in the world right now. He's playing the best. His game suits an Open Championship venue. I think now more so than ever, his attitude suits an Open Championship tournament because he's just shown that he's gotten over some of the mental issues that he seemed to have on the golf course. You can play any of these guys. You really can. But I want to go through each range and mention to you guys who I think the chalk is going to be. And Pat, you feel free to chime in here. Now, me and Pat, every week we do not listen or read or watch or whatever anyone else's content before we record our own show so that we're not skewed by anybody. All we do is see what's on Twitter. So that's it. So this is my guess. I think Jon Rahm is going to be popular. I think obviously the way he's playing, he should be, right? And because the pricing is soft and deep, all the things I just said, that's why he's going to be popular. I think Xander is going to be pretty popular. I think Brooks is going to be popular. I think Spieth is going to be popular. And I think JT is going to be popular. So, I mean, the three guys I gave you are all guys who I think are going to be chalk in this range for sure. So I'm obviously willing to eat a little bit of it up here. I think Spieth is going to be, I think Spieth and Rahm may be the two chalkiest names here.
I think you could be right. I'm surprised you didn't mention Usti. I mean, Usti has played fantastic the last two majors, and I think he was second in the PGA.
He has, but man, it's tough to play. I mean, it's tough to pay the same price for Usti, or right there with him as Colin Morikawa. Pay $300 more and get Justin Thomas. Pay $400 more and get Spieth. Like if he were in the 8K range, 100%, and that's where he's been for these previous majors. But $9,300 Louis around these other names with the cachet they carry, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be as popular. Which
yeah, I just think you look at him, and he was one that almost kind of. And really, one reason I didn't even mention him was because I thought he might be a little bit too chalky for GPP play. I still think you can play him though, but I mean, just you look at his approach play right now. I mean, his ball striking, bogey avoidance. He's top 10 in the field, and I mentioned that stat earlier. That's the reason he is always so good in majors, is because he just doesn't have a ton of bad holes in majors, and he makes a lot of pars, makes a birdie every once in a while, putts extremely well, level-headed. Very creative around the golf course. He's obviously won an Open Championship before. So, I mean, if you were to point at Usti winning a major, he almost won 2 this year. This is the one you would probably point at. So if he is low-owned, he could be another really good play this week.
Yeah. I mean, is there anyone in here that, no matter what, is there anyone in here that you would say, if he is low-owned, I still am not going to play him?
Probably Bryson.
Yeah, I think I'm probably there with you too. Rory's interesting. I mean, he sucked at the Scottish last week, which isn't a big deal, but obviously a tremendous Open Championship record. I don't know that I believe in what he's been doing lately with the short game and I don't know. He's spraying the ball off the tee too. Morikawa talked about how the Scottish Open this past week was his very first time playing links golf. He'd never played links golf before, literally never. Scottish Open was his first time. He made the cut. He kind of middled around in the weekend.
I would worry with his putting in general.
The putting is always
not being really that used to this type surface.
But it's if the winning score is going to be 5 under, and he hits so many greens in regulation that even though he doesn't putt well, he doesn't make a ton of bogeys. He just misses a lot of birdie opportunities. If he hits, 2 birdies a day, and then I don't know, he's one of those that in conditions like this, even when he's putting like crap, he could win. I worry more about
numbers are actually worse than recently than Hovland's.
That's not what I see. Stroke gain around the green according to Fantasy National. Well, you're looking at last 20. Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the rolling report. So the last 24 rounds, if you look at just that number, Hovland is better. But the last 12, the last 8, and the last 4 rounds, Colin Morikawa is much better. It's kind of funny how that when you start looking at the trend line, it starts to look different. I mean, neither one of them are perennial scramblers of the golf ball.
No.
They are improving, of course, but yeah. So a lot more to talk about in that range, obviously throughout the week and definitely in the Nut Hut. Let's move on to the 8K range here. Let's see. We've got starts with Patrick Cantlay, Patrick Reed. Hideki has withdrawn due to the COVID issues going on. Paul Casey, Will Zalatoris, Tony Finau, Webb Simpson, Scheffler, Adam Scott, Justin Rose, and Tommy Ladd returning to his homeland of England, the home, one of the hometown boys here, old Tommy Fleetwood. So I'll start here. This is a pretty straightforward range for me as well. I love Patrick Cantlay here. Absolutely love Patrick Cantlay here. Windy conditions, interesting green complexes with a lot of trouble being these bunkers. There's even a couple greens where I'm actually looking forward to this. There's a couple of greens where if you go over them, you're OB. Like there's OB just behind the green here on this golf course. We didn't talk about that in the course breakdown. There's like 2 or 3 where if you fly it too much, you're out of bounds. I just think ball striking, distance control is going to be paramount. And there is arguably none better on the PGA Tour than Patrick Cantlay, and I want it. I love the price. I love the value. I love the win EV at 8,900 is fantastic for Patrick Cantlay. He's got, Ryder Cup. He's kind of in that bubble zone. He's in the ninth spot at the moment. So not locked in, but he's dancing around that top 12. He's got a T12 at the Open Championship in 2018, so he checks the box of having a good finish in an Open. I love him. And then I'm going to go with Patrick Reed. I'm going the 2 Patricks, Reed and Cantlay. Call me crazy. I love these boys. I like to play them both. I love playing Patrick Reed in majors. I do think that people will play him. I don't think he's going to be super overlooked like he has been in other tournaments, but everything we talked about that matters here, short game, around the greens, putting, grinder mentality, all that is Patrick Reed. So the two Patricks up top, I love them. And listen, I also think if I were going to give my chalk report, I think the chalk in this 8K range is Cantlay, Casey, and Reed. So I'm choosing to play 2 of the chalk names here. Those are a couple of my favorite names in this range. I think they're head and shoulders above everyone else in this spot. There's one other name in here that I almost said, and is probably going to be in my player pool, but I'm restricting myself to 2 plays here. We'll see if you mention him. I think you will. And then my fade's going to be Webb, man. I mean, I think Webb's a little broken at the moment. I know that he's been working on some swing issues, some bad habits. We mentioned his coach, Paul Tesori, caddy, Paul Tesori. He's a friend of ours. I know they've been working on some stuff. He's coming off a back-to-back missed cut, so he doesn't arrive here in the form that you'd like to see. And he's just got kind of a meh Open record. It's okay. He's got a couple of decent finishes, nothing great. The around the green play, the approach play, and the putting all trending down. They're not all terrible relative to the field, but they're trending the wrong direction as you look in the last 36, 24, 12, 8, 4, events. It's just, or four rounds. So I think Webb's a little broken and I'm not really interested. So that's the 8K range for me.
Okay. Well, since you started, my 2 guys here were at the top, Patrick Cantlay and Patrick Reed.
Hey.
So those were the 2 guys I had. So then I have to feel like I got to add.
I'll give you my third one. Do you want my third one?
I feel like you were going to say Scotty Scheffler.
Yes. Yeah.
I like Scheffler. I mean, I have a soft spot for Scheffler. He obviously helped me win some money at the U.S. Open, but I don't know about him yet.
Why not?
I actually have a few hesitations about Scheffler. First,
and that's weird because normally, like you said, you love Scheffler, so I can't wait to hear what these hesitations.
Well, I think you mentioned really early on in the show experience, and he does not have any experience here for one. Now, I did just talk about Victor Hovland, but I do think Victor has a lot more experience playing overseas and around the world and that kind of stuff, whereas I don't see that with Scheffler. So that's one thing. You look at Scheffler's greens in regulation right now, not very good. His bogey avoidance isn't great. I mean, he's 79th in the field there. So there's just a few things about Scheffler that worry me a little bit. he is typically a pretty good driver of the golf ball. One of the things I looked at for the U.S. Open were total driving stats, and he and Jon Rahm were head and shoulders above anybody in the field. But still, he can tend to spray it a little bit. And I don't know. Scheffler worries me. If he's super low owned, then I might look at playing him. But I have a feeling he's going to be a little bit chalky. I mean, he did shoot a deck. Did he almost shoot a 59 at the Scottish Open? He was like 10 under through 10 holes or something ridiculous.
I mean, he finished T12. He shot 2 under today, 13 under for the tournament. I don't know when that let's see, round 3 he shot a 67. Round 2 he shot a 63. And yeah, in round 1 he was
all right, maybe I don't know. I thought I saw he was like 10 under through 10 holes somewhere, but I don't know. That could just be European Tour crazy scoring shit. But yeah, so I do. My favorites though were Cantlay and Reed.
Well, let me sell you on Scheffler a little more, if that's okay, because I think he's an interesting name to sit here and talk about. You're right; he doesn't have experience. He does come in here in great form, as you mentioned. The T12, the Scottish. I like that he went over there and got amongst it, and got comfortable with playing over there and doing his thing. Because you're right; he probably doesn't have the experience that Victor Hovland may have had coming over there. He's proven to do very well in major championships and in tough scoring conditions. The total driving thing, I think that's very valuable for him this week. I think that is extremely valuable because I think as long as he hits it, when I look here at these numbers, he's one of the best in this field. When you look at driving distance and fairways gained on Fantasy National, he's 35th in driving distance and 65th in fairways gained, which, I mean, doesn't sound. I mean, you're like 65th in fairways gained, but
I mean, it's the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and relative to other names, you'd be surprised how good that is. Like Cantlay's 32nd in distance, 93rd in fairways gained. Like you wouldn't think he was that far off. I mean, hell, Webb Simpson's 75th in fairways gained right now over the last 24 rounds. So it's not bad, and I think that's going to help him a lot because of the distance he has. He's going to hit a lot of short irons into this place. So I'm excited to see what he can do with those opportunities. And the scrambling is pretty good. He's actually a good scrambler. And even recently, the sand play has been okay. I just think this is a good spot for Scheffler. Yeah. And he's 14th in the Ryder Cup standings. I'm sure he'd love to play for the U.S. in his first Ryder Cup. So he's on that bubble. He needs to work himself into that top 12 or at least be, give himself as good a chance as possible to be considered as a captain's pick. I think that's got to be something that's on a lot of these guys' minds right now. So I like Scotty Scheffler here, and I will most definitely have some shares of him. He wasn't in my first 2 because I feel like Cantlay and Reed are the 2 safest plays here.
Yeah, but are we trying to be safe to win a GPP, or are we just trying
No, but they're my I say safe, but they're my favorite plays. I mean, I feel the best about Cantlay and Reed. If I'm giving you my favorite plays in this range, those are the 2 I feel the best about.
No, I mean I did too. That's why they were
okay.
The 2 guys. My fade, by the way, was Willie Z. Freaking Willie Z. What the hell, man? He's just got so much going for him, and I just the putting with him really concerns me this week. We talk about guys that are, playing their first time here in an Open Championship. I think of the most vulnerable of them, it's Willie Z. I think that, we've seen his play just kind of fall off the last few weeks. He's played a ton, obviously, this entire year. So for me, and it's more of a feel kind of gut thing there. I don't think his ownership is going to be that high. I don't like that price at 8,500 either. I think it could be a little bit lower for him. So Willie Z is going to be my fade. And I don't mind the Webb fade. I think that's a little easier one to predict. But Willie Z will be my fade.
Any other thoughts on other guys in this range that you think?
I mean, we got 10 guys. So it's the 3 that are going to be interesting are Scott, Rose, and Fleetwood. Like, are those 3 guys? Now, Rose is not. But could Adam Scott or Fleetwood entice you just a little bit?
No. Listen,
Because you're going to get really low ownership on all
rare.
three of them.
This is rare because so many DFS talking heads love Tommy Fleetwood, but I've never been a Tommy Fleetwood guy. I've never been tempted by him. He's not a guy that's lost me a bunch of money through the years. It just hasn't happened for me. Now, I have other guys that I have been, and they've lost me a bunch of money, but I can't say that about Tommy Fleetwood. I'm rarely tempted by him. I feel like he constantly underperforms. And an interesting stat is I think you've only had one Englishman ever win at this golf course in 15 attempts at Royal St.Georges. So if you want to go like, oh, he's the hometown Englishman. I mean, there's a lot of those guys here. Paul Casey's another one. Justin Rose, Matt Fitzpatrick in a minute we're going to talk about. So, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of those guys here. And he did just have a decent week at the Scottish, but I just feel like he constantly underperforms in majors. So I just don't get Tommy Fleetwood. And Adam Scott pisses me the hell off.
See, Rose pisses me the hell off because Rose, I could just see.
I'm not that
all of a sudden. I feel like Rose just like looks like a weekend golfer, and then all of a sudden you'll see him at a tournament like the Masters or something, and he just shows up, and I'm just like, what the hell? Where did that come from?
The only one I guess I could, if out of those three, Scott may get me. Scott could maybe get me. He could maybe tempt me here. He needs to put the driver away, though. He needs to club down on some of these holes. Like his driver is not good right now.
I mean, he hadn't been playing terrible.
No, he has not.
Top 15 at the Travelers, 35th at the
US Open. Total
Memorial.
Let's look at his total Open Championship record here. Let's see. God, he's got a great Open record. He's got a runner-up in 2012, third in 2013, fifth in 2014, 10th in 2015. That 2012 to 2015 run was pretty sick. Then a 43rd, 22nd, 17th, and a miscut in 2019. Damn good Open record, though, but it's been a while, you know? I don't know. I mean, I maybe could get it, but it's going to be tough for me to play him and not play. You know, that's the thing about, like, could you make a very nice looking balanced lineup with like starting in the 8K range? Hell yeah. You know, you can have Cantlay, Reed, Casey, you know, somebody else.
You haven't mentioned Finau yet, who has a great Open record, by the way.
You know, you could do that. I don't like doing that because I think there is way too much win equity in the 9 and 10s. Like, I just think you need to have, you know, if you want to play Reed and Cantlay in a lineup, and maybe that's going to be a popular stack, I don't know. But if you want to play those two in a lineup, I still think you got to have somebody in that 9, 10K range that's going to bump up your win equity there a little bit more before you get going. You know, you get down a little too cute. But you could have a really attractive lineup full of names if you just stayed real balanced in that 8K and high 7s. You could totally do that. But, you know, and maybe I would do that. And maybe that's how I would have an Adam Scott lineup. But other than that, like, it's Scotty Scheffler would have to be like 15 to 20%, and Scott would have to be like 8 for me to do that. But if Scheffler's like 12%, you know, because that's the thing is a field this deep, the ownership's going to be pretty spread out once you get down here, you get to this point. Like, it's going to start getting spread out. And I'm not going to sacrifice a guy like the upside of Scheffler, which I think is better than the upside of Adam Scott, for a few ownership percentage points on Adam Scott.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I just think those three names are interesting right there. Scott, Rose, Fleetwood. All they're right there together.
Mm-hmm.
Rose full on fade for me. I'm not even gonna
attempt it, huh?
Not even gonna attempt it. But I could see Fleetwood or Scott creeping in there.
Okay. Pat, let's talk about the 7K range, and I'm going to let you start this range off since you got mad about the last two. Before you do, I will say this. We're talking about betting on a lot of players here, right? And playing DFS and all this stuff. And a lot of these guys, you can bet on having a Fujikura shaft in their bag. So if you play golf, you play real golf, you know, you need a Fujikura shaft, just like a lot of these other guys. It's the most played shaft on the PGA Tour this season in any drivers or fairway woods or metals or whatever. And the Ventus is the #1 shaft model on the PGA Tour. It's been used to win all three U.S. tours, the PGA Tour, LPGA, and Champions Tour, and the European Tour. Notable guys using the Ventus. How about Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy? Ever heard of him? Jordan Spieth, Adam Scott, we just talked about, Sergio Garcia. It's available in 3 models with a wide range of weights and flexes for any golfer. If you're a tour pro or a weekend warrior, the Ventus could probably work for you. It'll help you find the center of the club face more often for better consistency and distance. Pat, you need the Ventus. I don't know if you have it in your shaft in your club yet, but you need to put it in there. I know you have it. You need to put it in your club. Get you off the toe a little bit. Ventus with the Velo Core is the performance standard for club fitters. So find a local fitter at fujikiragolf.com and check them out on Instagram at Fujikira Golf. That's FUJIKURA Golf. Fujikiragolf.com. Check out the Ventus. Good shaft, good people, good trusted club company. All right, Pat, hit me with the 7K range. And the range where, you got Shane Lowry, your defending champ, Fitzpatrick, Joaquin Neiman's up in there, Matt Wolf's in there, but he withdrew, so heads up there. Lee Westwood, Daniel Berger at $7,400, possibly one of the chalkiest 7K players of all time is in there. Your boy Francesco Molinari is in there. Bubba Watson's still listed, so don't worry about that. He's withdrawn. Ricky Fowler's got I think this is the last Open he can play in under his current exemption, so he better do something. Guido's in there, down there at 7,100. Russell Henley, Ian Poulter just played well. Corey Connors, Zach Johnson, Henrik Stenson. Those are just some of the guys here in this range. So why don't you tell us a few of your favorite plays? We're probably going to talk about a lot of names in here. So get comfy.
Yeah, there are a lot of names that we can even talk about. I know Matthew Fitzpatrick is going to be one that everybody's going to really be on this week, I think. He was not in my listed 3 GPP plays, but I do think Fitzy is a good play this week. I think he will probably be one of the chalkier guys here at 7,900, coming off of a very good week at the Scottish Open and in good form this year, pretty much the entire year. But I'm going to drop below there, and I like Joaquin Neiman at 7,700. He was second at the Rocket Mortgage, lost in that playoff there. He is a guy. Now, this is a range where I start to think of guys as being there's a little bit of a gut to it. There's more form as far as some of these guys I like. They may not check a ton of boxes as far as the stats are concerned, but Neiman he can work his ball. He is a great ball striker. He's a good putter. So I think Neiman, even though he missed the cut in the last Open Championship that he played, which was 2 years ago, I think he makes a lot of sense coming in the form that he's in. You look at a guy like I said, great ball striker, good putter. You look at bogey avoidance, he's top 20 in the field. I like Neiman a lot at 7,700. I will kind of wonder what his ownership's going to be like.
I don't think it's going to be great. I don't think it's going to be like too much. No. I want to chime in here on Neiman because I looked at him. The ball striking super attractive. The putting is good. He sucks around the greens for the most part. He was really good around the greens at the Rocket Mortgage. I think he was, I think he was like 100% scrambling for the week or something. I don't know about him though. I feel like Neiman has shown a propensity to feast on the easier courses. If you look at his tough course track record, he doesn't have as many good finishes as I want him to have. He's got a bunch of made cuts. He's got a couple top 25s, but it seems like he's feasting on these birdie fest. I could be wrong. I'm just perusing his.
Yeah, 31st at the U.S. Open on a very difficult course, in which he started very bad the first day. I think he shot 4 over the first day, and then really, came around the rest of the week. Neiman is just a guy, though, if you talk about, controlling your ball, this guy can do all kinds of things with his ball. He really just can flight it how he wants to, just is in complete control of what he's doing there. So I like him a lot this week. I think
if the wind picks up and he's on the right side of the draw, you're right. The way as low as he hits it, that little low runner that he hits is very enticing. If the conditions were a little more firm, like we thought too, that'd be interesting. We'll see. We'll hear from our friends on the ground, like if it dries up a little bit by Wednesday, that could be interesting for him. You're right. It's he's a sexy name there because you feel like he's got chops. Like he could get it done.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh man, I'm going to go down actually a little bit cheaper here with two guys for you, and I'm going to start with Ricky Fowler at 7,300. I like Ricky this week. You know, we saw him play extremely well here last time they played Royal St.Georges, and we've seen some decent form out of him lately. I think he's going to be super low owned still. If I get a high owned Ricky Fowler, I'll just be pissed anyway, and I won't play him. But I don't think we'll get that. And this is definitely a gut feel here. But Ricky has always talked about loving playing overseas in these type conditions on these type courses. I think he has a good natural feel for these type courses. So that's good enough for me. I'll play Ricky Fowler. And then Brandon Grace at 7,200. You know, Brandon Grace is, you know, he won earlier this year in Puerto Rico and is just quietly having a really good year. Top 10 at the U.S. Open, 4th at the Memorial. You look at the stats for him, I mean, they're all pretty good. He's top 10 in the field in scrambling, top 40 in approach, 5th in bogey avoidance. He's a good putter, 22nd in strokes gained putting over the last 100 rounds. I think Brandon Grace makes a lot of sense on this course. And then you just look at the, the Open Championship history. Not only does he have the scoring record in an Open Championship where he shot 61, 62 or whatever it was when he finished top 10 a few years ago, has a top 20 in 2015, T50 won the year. Shane Lowry won it a couple years ago. I love Brandon Grace at 7,200 this week. And then my fade is actually a guy that we've seen play well last week, or this week today at the Scottish Open, and that is Ian Poulter. Yeah, gonna fade Ian Poulter at 7,200. He, by the way, has a terrible Open Championship record when you look at the last 5 years. He does have a top 15, but 3 missed cuts in the last 5 years here. You look at, hang on, sorry. Excuse me. You look at the stats, 72nd in approach, 103rd in greens and regulation, 93rd in bogey avoidance, 103rd in ball striking when you look at windy AF conditions. I do love his scrambling ability. Ian has always been a great scrambler. I think he could be a little bit higher owned, though, at this low 7K range, coming off a really good tournament at the Scotland Open or Scottish Open, and I will. I'm going to fade Ian Poulter this week. So there you
go. Okay, interesting. You talked about Ricky. Our girl Nita is watching live on YouTube. Shout out Nita and DFS Trash Talk. She's. I think you triggered her with the Ricky talk. She's struggling. It's tough. It's really tough. I'm with you, Nita. Actually, it's triggering to talk about Ricky. I don't know, Pat. I think I might just save myself the headache because I feel like. If I don't play him, I can avoid likely a lot of pain if I don't play him and he does well or he won. I mean, could you imagine? I
don't think he's going to win, and you're not looking for a winner here in the 7K range.
Just think about it. Stuart Sinks won twice this year. Harris English has won twice this year. Phil Mickelson won a major at 50. Ricky Fowler winning his first major probably wouldn't be the weirdest thing that happened so far this season. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But if it did, I at least like him enough. I'd be okay with losing all my money yet watching it happen. I think I'm okay. I think I'm going to be fading Ricky, but I like the call. We got to talk about a handful of names here before we get into some picks I like. I mean, Daniel Berger at the price of 7,400 is DraftKings giving everyone a big old temptation biscuit. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough. Him and Sam Burns, which we've not got to the 6K range, but
I don't really like Berger this week.
At 7,400, you don't like Berger?
No, I think he could. I think he could be the one that really just crash and burns a ton of
lineups. Take a guess what Daniel Berger's world golf ranking is.
I don't care. I mean,
I know you don't care. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to be like, I don't give a shit what his world golf. Just take a guess what it is.
14.
He's 16th in the world. That is sandwiched between Victor Hovland, Webb Simpson, Tony Finau, Hideki Matsuyama. And he's 7.4 thousand on DraftKings. That's what I'm saying. Like, you get a world-class player who does play well in windy AF conditions. I bet if you look on Fantasy National, who does play well out of the sand, who is a good ball striker, who is in decent form, and is also on the Ryder Cup bubble. He's currently 12th, right there on that 12th spot on the Ryder Cup. It's $7,400. Like, there is no one arguably in the entire 7K range that has as good a win value as Daniel Berger, and he's 7,400. So I think between him and Sam Burns at 60, whatever he is, like 64, 63, those two names are two names that DraftKings either intentionally got wrong, or intentionally priced there just to screw with everybody, or just somebody wasn't paying attention. But those are two names you are going to have to take a stand on at some way, somehow, because they're too good to just like act like they're not there. Like, you either have to basically say, I don't care, eat the chalk on these names because the savings is so good, or when you see ownership projections and they're up there, like, because I think they will be, you just go, all right, well, I'll just take my chances on the two young guys and bounce. But I mean, starting off here with Berger, I think he's very tough to avoid at 7,400.
I mean, Berger, he just finished the John Deere today.
Yeah.
He's traveling over. I'm never a big fan.
Plenty of people do that.
I'm never a huge fan of the travel narrative and things like that. But is there anything, and I'm asking you this because I don't know, maybe you know, is there anything extra he's got to do to wait before he gets on the course because of COVID or things like that? Like, is there any kind of day lag that he has to go through? Like, I don't know. I'm asking this question because I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I've read about some of the restrictions, and the restrictions are ridiculous. So there's a lot of dumb stuff going on. But the charter does take a group of these guys to England. Now, one ridiculous thing, and something that maybe we should have said up front, like, the rule is if anyone you're on a flight with tests positive for COVID, even if you are vaccinated, you are out. So, like, that could really F up your lineups in the middle of the round, or in the middle of the tournament, if that comes down the pipe, if that happens, if someone tests positive. So if these guys fly over and the person that they're with is not even in their 4-person bubble that they're allowed to be in all week, and the player is vaccinated, it doesn't matter. So this could be a weird situation. This week could go very south if something like that happens. But no, I have not read anything about restrictions when he gets over here. But dude, pull up his all his recent tournaments on Fantasy National and look at the approach numbers and look at the off the tee numbers. Like, the ball striking is incredible. The putting numbers are incredible. Like, he's literally almost doing everything very, very well. 7th at the U.S. Open. Not a great PGA, okay? 9th at the Players. Won the Pebble Beach Pro-Am earlier this year. He's just been playing so good, man.
You don't have to tell me this. The two guys that I put in my lineup at the U.S. Open were Berger and Scheffler, but it was because they were coming in a little bit under the radar. Then a guy, if we get a super high-owned Berger at 7,400, I may choose to fade that. But as the week went on for the U.S. Open, he was a lot less owned, and so I liked him, and I liked all the numbers that were there. That you could cite them all to me. I get it.
And I'm not saying if Berger were where he should be, which is up there near Victor Hovland and Tony Finau, if he were up there in the high 8s to low 9s, probably high 8s. If you're in like the mid to high 8s, he may not. I may be like, But I mean, the price savings that the savings you get at 7,400 is super tempting. Everyone is going to have to make the decision on him and Sam Burns. I just feel like it because the savings is too good. Anyway, I think that's a name you had to talk about. I think the other chalky name in the 7K range is going to be Fitzpatrick, like you said. And he is coming off, missing out on a win at the Scottish. He lost in a playoff. But he has played well all year, as you've mentioned. And I really like Fitzpatrick. I think he's a good player. Pat, you're going to get a beer. Okay, great. Get me one while you're at it, buddy. Fitzpatrick been playing well all year. He checks a lot of boxes. He really does. He's another one that's On the Euro side, he's 9th in the Ryder Cup bubble. Trying to hang on, or at least lock up a Ryder Cup spot for himself. He's just played so well. He's added some distance off the tee. I like him. But let me give you a name that I think is a little bit of a pivot play in the top sevens, and that is the Aussie Mark Leishman at 7,700. Leash, his Open Championship record is interesting. Runner-up in 2015, a 5th place in 2014, a 6th place in 2017. Other than that, not good. So it's kind of feast or famine for Mark Leishman at the Open. But we've seen a little bit of, we've seen some struggles a little bit this year with Leishman. We've seen some missed cuts at the Players, at the API, a couple tournaments he normally does well. 5th place at the Masters, he came out and did. Made the cut of the U.S. Open, didn't do well. Finished 3rd a couple weeks ago at the Travelers, seemingly getting back on track a little bit for Leash. But here's what he does well. He's a great sand player, tremendous sand player, okay? Pretty solid around the greens and tends to be, fairly decent with the irons. So I think Leishman is just a pivot play. I don't love him. I don't know that I'd play him in cash. But for a pivot tournament play, I think Leash is interesting. I am in love with a guy down there in Ricky Fowler territory, also at 7,300, with Harris English, the Bulldog. Harris English, I mean, what confidence does Harris English have to arrive here at the Open after winning the Travelers, winning earlier this year at the Tournament of Champions? And a lot of people may not know, this is actually his 6th Open Championship, and he's only missed 1 cut. His best finish was a T15 back in 2013. But his 6th Open Championship, 1 missed cut. But, man, he has played so well. 3rd place at the U.S. Open, 21st at the Masters. Harris English is just doing a lot of things well right now. The putting is there. Around the green is there. Approach play is there. He's hitting a ton of fairways. The guy is just popping. I love it. The total driving numbers are there for him. I think Harris English is a great savings at 7,300 and may get a little lost in this range. Maybe not, but he may just be a little lost. If a bunch of people go up to Daniel Berger, Brandon Grace, I agree with Pat, is a good name. Ricky Fowler, I don't know. I think he could be maybe a forgotten man down here. And finally, my last kind of sneaky, I guess, potentially sneaky tournament play is going to be big Robert McIntyre at 7,300. I like what Robbie Mac is doing. T18, I think, this past week at the Scottish. He's another one on the Ryder Cup bubble, currently in 10th for the European Ryder Cup team. Finished 6th at his first Open Championship just in 2019, I guess it was. We last saw Robbie playing the U.S. Open, finished 35th, 49th at the PGA, 12th at the Masters. So, doing well there. He's got a pretty decent major championship record, and he's getting more and more experience, and he's probably confidence is up more and more for old Robert McIntyre. Okay, we are getting someone in the chat, Suji style. And who knows, this guy could be totally making this up. The John Deere charter passengers take a COVID test before leaving, and again on arrival, don't know if they're forced to take additional tests if they're asymptomatic. So who knows? So taking a test before they get on the plane, before they get on the charter, and taking another one when they get there. So the double swab is what's going to happen. So if Berger gets it, if somebody like that gets it, we're gonna know quickly. So let's see. Oh yeah, my fade in this range is going to be Jason Day, and I know he's playing better.
Oh, you hate Aussies. Oh, you hate Aussies. DB hates Aussies. Let's put it in the chat. Put it in the Nut Hut. He faded an Aussie. Blah, blah, blah.
Even though Jason Day is playing a little bit better lately, his Open record is bad. He has 1 top 15 in the Open all time, and that was in 2015. He's lost strokes on approach in more events than he's gained in 2021. Distance is a little bit less of a factor for him here than it normally would be. Precision and accuracy, I think, is more of a must, and he's not really doing that. That's why he's having to scramble his dick off. So I think Day, despite the good couple of tournaments that he's had lately, I think this is a different animal for him. The Open is clearly
surprised you that he's not good here. Like, I feel like a guy like Jason Day should be good here. Great scrambler, good, great total driver of the ball. Typically, like everything that you think he could do well or he should do well, it should be here, but he just doesn't.
Yeah. It does kind of surprise me. Plus, this year you have all the COVID stuff, so he could withdraw. God knows what he could do. So I'm out on him. The 7K range, there's tons of names in here. Well, this is where I really feel like you can get some nice leverage. I think, eating the chalk in the 8K, 9K, 10K, you can do that. If you have to, if you just must play the guys that are the most chalky names. But you can make up some ownership down here in the 7K. But you can't play freaking, Spieth and Rahm and Fitzpatrick and Berger and Burns in a lineup. Like, yeah, I guess you could in cash, but God, you're not gonna have any leverage in the tournament. So let's get to the 6K range and button it up, Pat. Who are some names here in the 6K? I talked about Sam Burns. I mean, the kid just played the Scottish, finished T18. He's 19th in the Ryder Cup standing, so he needs to make a big push here the next few weeks. And the kid's, almost won 2 events this year on the PGA Tour. No experience at the Open, obviously, but obviously a really solid player. Stupid price for him. Now, you can talk about avoiding Daniel Berger at 7,400. There's no way you can that easily consider avoiding Sam Burns at 6,300. Talk about him first.
No, Sam Burns actually, of these two, between the Berger mispricing, quote unquote, and then the Sam Burns mispricing, Burns to me is the more egregious one, and I think it's very hard for me to not, at least he's going to be in a lineup, and I'm sure he's going to be high owned. I don't care. Like, the guy's just been playing fantastic this year. It's just a little bit ridiculous where he is. But yeah,
when you put him in a lineup, the names you can put with him, and you look at that lineup, it's very enticing. But everyone needs to know, like, that is going to be a go-to name in this range.
Yeah, it is. But a few others, because I know Berger is obviously one that everybody's going to talk about. But I like Kiz at 6,900.
Yeah.
He's finished top 10 in his last 2 events. You talk about the Ryder Cup. You come over here and, he obviously is, I still think he's on the outside looking in. I know he really wants to.
I think he's like 20th or somewhere in there.
But he could make up a lot of ground this week. I do like the way his game has turned around. He has a good Open record. I mean, he was in contention a few years ago when Francesco Molinari won. He's a guy that I think plays well on courses like this. He is a grinder. So now, come Friday, if he's just or even on the weekend, if he's just kind of not even in contention, you're not going to get a whole lot out of Kiz. But if he's up there in contention, I think you can get a lot from him. So I like him. A couple European names. Aaron Rai at 6,800. He is the guy that's been playing very well recently. He's one that I do like this week. And then Ryan Fox is also another one that I think, you're getting him at 6,600. Last week, he finished 44th at the Scottish Open. He did miss the cut at the Irish Open, but then before that, top 15 at the BMW, top 15 at the Scandinavian Mixed, whatever the hell that is, top 15 at the Porsche European Open, top 10 at the Saudi International, which was earlier this year in February. But Fox is one that's kind of popped in the past for the Open Championship. He does have some history playing in this tournament, long off the tee, was 16th here 2 years ago, T39 in 2018, T50 or T49 in 2015. Fox has a little bit of experience and is playing well. So I like him. And then who else did I have? I think that was it. I think Stuart Sink makes a little bit of sense too. He's up there at 6,900. Obviously, he's won this tournament before in a year that pissed everybody off because Tom Watson didn't freaking win. But still, the way Sink has been playing this year, it's hard to avoid him at 6,900. So there's some names for you there.
Yeah, a lot of agreement there. Fox also a really good link style record over his career. He was one I had circled on. You snatched him from me. Agree with you a little bit on Sink. Definitely agree with you on Kiz. He loves the Open. He's been over there preparing, ready to go. Obviously playing well. This does suit him very, very well. Short game, all that stuff. Love Kiz here for sure. I Our boy Joel Damon. I like Joel. He's been over there for a few days now. Gino's over there. We've been texting him a little bit. Joel's hitting it well. He's confident. The around the green play, the bunker play's been okay lately. Very accurate driver of the ball. I like Joel here. I think he's an interesting name. Lucas Glover. I mean, played here in 2011.
Winner.
Winning the John Deere, getting on the charter. Now, he was in the Open before winning the John Deere. He was already in. But, I mean, he is a major champion. A lot of people forget that. Lucas Glover. He's hitting the ball well. And what's crazy is he's putting. He's actually putting well lately, which is super weird to say. But he gained strokes now in his last 5 golf tournaments with the putter. I'm not sure what's happened, but you might want to go ahead and kiss your loved ones and get in your bunkers. But Glover's an interesting one. If I want to throw out a couple of Euro names, Lucas Herbert. I
love him.
Herbert. Herbert. Yeah, I don't know why I said Herbert. He's
you were just trying to get fancy.
Maybe I was.
Get into those names and you're like, yeah, I'm
next on the tee, Lucas Herbert. T4 at the Scottish, just coming off a victory. He's got one ear that sticks out further than the other, and that's interesting. He's an Aussie, actually. Herbert is. So I shouldn't have even said Herbert. I should have said Lucas Herbert. I just lost it. I don't know. Anyway, he's playing really, really well right now. He's got to be confident coming into this thing. And who else? Dean Burmester gets me a little bit. He's kind of an old European stag, faithful guy in European Tour DFS. T35 at the Scottish. He hits it a long way. Aggressive player. And got a little bit of a links record as well. And then Sam Burns. I mean, Sam Burns, geez. I think Sam and Kiz are going to be your popular plays in this 6K range for sure. So there you go. There it is. There's the picks. It's a long show, but it's a good one. We'll do the betting show tomorrow night. The betting show drops Monday night. We got TJ After Dark over on the DraftKings channel. Don't forget the Nut Hut. Thanks to our nut up or shut up contestant Alan for playing along. It's been a fun night. We appreciate it. It's going to be a great week. The Open Championship, one of our favorite weeks of the year. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave us a comment, tell us you like the show, or just comment for the algorithm. I know some of you smart asses are just going to write that in there, so just do that. That's fine too. What else? Anything else? Great. Pat, you good?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm good. Ready for the betting show. DraftKings later on this evening. So, yeah.
Yeah. Producer Sam reminding me I am getting waxed on the betting show. So my body is getting waxed because I lost a bet. So you can watch that on YouTube. Be sure and check that out. Yeah, great. All right. Awesome. Thanks. Yep. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. May your screens be green for the Open Championship.